Here's where I'm going to show you the list of all the Disney villain songs that use this, all right? And your jaw's gonna drop because it's literally almost every Disney villain song ever. Are you ready? Okay. Whew. Here we go. There is literally one chord that is in almost every single Disney villain song ever. I'm talking the entire history of Disney music. I swear, you don't believe me? I'm gonna prove it in this video. If you don't know me, my name is Matt. For the last 15 years, I have been a professional piano player and a composer and a music professor and a music author, and I love geeking out about all things music. Now, it's no surprise to me that a lot of the students that I've worked with over the years love to use Disney music to learn music theory or music techniques, which I am all for. So, there's a really fun thing that is specifically in Disney villain songs that teaches you a great music theory technique. And I was even shocked as I did my research how many times this is used. I'm not joking, this one chord, 99.9% of all Disney villain songs. So we're gonna break it down today. Here we go. So before I show you the mind-boggling list of Disney villain songs that use this one chord, I'm first gonna teach you really fast what this one chord is. So stick with me, we're gonna do a tiny little bit of music theory, but you have to understand it in order to appreciate when I show you how it's in every Disney villain song. Okay, first, let's not talk about Disney villains for a second. Let's talk about the other characters. Other characters in Disney movies are the love interest, the hero, the funny sidekick, who am I rooting for, right? All of those fun characters. Well, in music, songs are often written in two different types of ways. You can have songs that are written in what we call major key signatures or minor key signatures. So, major, the stereotype is that major sounds happy or bright, right? Major chords sound pleasant. Minor chords sound darker. They can sound sadder or more ominous. So it's not going to be a shock to you that in the world of Disney music, Disney villains are written in minor key signatures most of the time, and all the other characters are written in major key signatures. That's not a surprise. So let's do a test. On the count of three, I want you to think about your favorite Disney love song. 1, 2, 3, go. Now, whatever song just popped into your head, because it's a love song, do you think that's going to be in a major key or a minor key? Probably going to be a major key, right? Because love is supposed to feel good and is something that we're rooting for in the storyline, right? Now, think about your favorite Disney villain song. 1, 2, 3, go. Whatever just came through your mind, 99% sure it's probably in a minor key signature. There's a couple of fun exceptions to that, but 99% of the time, it's going to be at a minor key signature. Now, here's why that's important. Look at my hands here on the piano. When we are dealing with what key signature we're in, that tells us what type of chords we can use in the songs. Well, in major key signatures, we're working with major scales. Now, there are two arguably most important chords in any song, including Disney songs. There's the home bass chord, the one chord. So for example, if we're in C major key signature, C major chord, right? It's our ground, it's our home base. The second most important chord, which you could actually maybe even argue is just as important, maybe even more important, but it's what we call the dominant chord, which is the fifth chord, meaning the chord built on the fifth of that scale, the key we're in. So if we're in C major, that home bass chord, that one chord, which we call the tonic chord, that home bass chord, that's a C major. Well, the dominant, that's going to be a G major because it's built on the fifth note of that key. Now, why is a dominant considered so important? Because in our human ears, we hear the one chord. We want to hear the one chord, right? If I go, it feels as leading us to home base. It's like rounding third, going into home base, okay? So dominant is really important. Now, what's interesting is in major key signatures, the dominant is going to be a major chord. It just is. So all of your favorite Disney songs that are the fun showstoppers from the sidekicks, or they're the love songs, or they're the big song that the hero sings, the I Want song, that's going to be most likely in a major key signature, and that dominant chord, the second most important chord in it, is going to be a major chord. Now, here's where minor chords get interesting and why they're perfect for Disney villains. Disney villains break the rules a little bit, right? They're kind of rule breakers. Well, not only do minor key signatures give us that darker, more ominous sound, but minor key signatures actually break the rules a little bit because they get two different options for that dominant chord, that second most important chord. Now, you would think if that's true, if most of Disney villain songs are written in a minor key signature and they have two different options for that big important chord, that dominant chord, well then you would think then half of them probably use one and half of them use the other if they're both fine. But here's where the cool thing is. Even though there are two options, it is not at all an even split of Disney villain songs that use one or the other. 99.9% of the Disney villain songs lean towards one of them. Now, why would Disney songwriters always want to use one over the other? Let's look at that. To know first off what the two dominant chords are, you just take a major scale. So let's go back to C major. That's our C major scale. A minor scale, or the minor key, what it does is it takes that major, so C major, and it's going to flatten the third, the sixth, and then sometimes the seventh. We'll get to the seventh. Seventh is the rule breaker. So that's the first 6 notes of a C major scale, but I'm going to flatten that third and sixth, and now it's this. Now we have a minor-y sounding scale. Now here's where that little rascal 7 comes in. There are more than 2 different types of minor scales, but there's 2 most popular ones. One is called natural minor, and one is called harmonic minor. Natural minor means we are going to also lower that 7th note, just like the 3rd and the 6th. So natural minor scale would sound like this. Okay? The harmonic minor scale does not flatten the 7th. Only the 3rd and the 6th get flattened. So that one sounds like this. Now, because that 7 can sometimes be flattened, sometimes not, depends on which type of minor scale you want to live in, that changes what the dominant chord is. So the dominant chord, so if I'm in C minor, the dominant chord, that 5 chord, it could be G major if I'm in harmonic minor, or it could be G minor if I'm in natural minor. Now, if all of this is like, Matt, I don't know what you're talking about, this is getting boring, totally fine. You don't have to be a whiz at all this music theory stuff. I'm just showing you this really fast to show you that there are 2 different types of dominant chords in a Disney villain song, because most of them are in a minor key signature. Now, if that means we get either a major option or a minor option, you may think, well, then the Disney villain songs probably lean towards the minor option, because aren't minor chords dark? And we just said minor key signatures are dark. So a Disney villain would want a minor chord as that big, powerful dominant chord, that second most important chord, right? But that's where it's interesting. They don't. They opt for the major one because it gives it an extra punch. It gives it an extra power to go from your minor home bass chord to that major dominant, back to that home bass. It gives it a big punch. And that's why in Disney villain songs, they opt for that major chord as the 5th chord, that dominant chord, which is from the harmonic minor. So even though there are 2 options, all Disney villain songs, not all, 99.9% of them, opt for this option, which is that a major dominant chord. And that gives a huge punch. And I don't just mean they kind of throw it in. I mean, Disney villain songs, they highlight this thing to no end. It's almost just as important as the tonic chord, because normally it's going to happen right before you get to the big home bass chord, like the Disney villain song's power chord, like the climax of the chorus that you love. Probably the favorite line, the best part of a Disney villain song is probably in there, the big tonic home bass chord, but right before it, leaning into it, is that dominant chord, and it's that major chord, that 5 chord. So Disney villain songs all use that one. And to me, that's so fascinating because like I said, the other characters, they only get one option for a dominant chord most of the time because they're in a major key signature. Disney villains, because they're in a minor key signature most of the time, they get 2 options, but Disney songwriters don't split them up equally. They all lean towards this one, the one that is the major 5 dominant. Now, here's where I'm going to show you the list of all the Disney villain songs that use this, all right? And your jaw's gonna drop because it's literally almost every Disney villain song ever. Are you ready? Okay. Whew. Here we go. It is used in some of the most famous villain songs. So let's start with the uber famous ones. It is in Poor Unfortunate Souls from The Little Mermaid. It is in the Mob song from Beauty and the Beast. It is in the Reprise from Prince Ali, sung by Jafar and Aladdin. It is in Be Prepared from The Lion King. It is in Savages from Pocahontas. It is in Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame. It is in Oogie Boogie's song from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is in Friends on the Other Side from Princess and the Frog. It is in the Big Mother Knows Best reprise from Tangled. It is in Get Lost from Moana 2. It is in the new Snow White movie, All Is Fair. It's also in older villain songs. So some of the classic ones like the Headless Horseman song from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Trust in Me from The Jungle Book, Heffalumps and Woozles from The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. It's even in non-movie related examples with villain songs. So it's in Grim Grinning Ghost, sung in the Haunted Mansion in the parks. It's in the song Love Doesn't Stand a Chance, sung by the Evil Queen in Once Upon a Time, the Disney TV show. It's in songs that aren't necessarily a true villain song, but they're seen as sort of villain adjacent because they're still seen as being darker. It's in Pink Elephants on Parade from Dumbo. It's in The Gospel Truth Part 2, where the muses sing about Hades and Hercules. It's We Don't Talk About Bruno in Encanto. It's also in a lot of existing songs that Disney chose to use for villains. So for example, it's in I Put a Spell on You, sung by the Witches in Hocus Pocus. It's in the Russian orchestral piece Not on Bald Mountain, which was used for Chernobog and Fantasia. And this doesn't even include all of the villain songs written for Broadway. Disney turned a bunch of their musicals into Broadway musicals and wrote more villain stuff, and it's in a ton of those too. This list is ridiculous, right? Almost every single Disney villain song ever written in the history of the company uses this one chord, and it is that major dominant chord. I love it. I love geeking out about theory. So now your homework is go listen to your favorite Disney villain song and let me know in the comments. I really want to know what your favorite Disney villain song is. I have a few. I sort of go back and forth between the Mob song in Beauty and the Beast and Poor Unfortunate Souls, the classic. Right? I love those two. I love them so much. I also love, hold on, what's the other one that I love so much? Oh, obviously, I love Gothel's reprise of Mother Knows Best. So good, so good. So let me know what your favorite Disney villain song is in the comments, and it probably is one of the ones I listed, so it means it probably uses this chord. Okay? So if you're wanting to improvise and write a song that sounds very Disney villain-esque, make sure it's in a minor key, and make sure in a big popular spot of the song or the big climax of the song, you throw in that dominant chord, that 5 chord, and that is a major chord, so it's in the harmonic minor. And then you go back to that powerhouse, okay? Now, if you want to stay on this road with me after you give me, let me know in the comments your favorite Disney villain song, let's keep this geeky piano music theory going, okay? I love it. So click on the video somewhere here on this screen. I'm still learning how to edit, and where I talk about some more fun tips on how you can focus on making chords in a very interesting way on the piano, because the thing I talk about in that one is actually used in a lot of Disney prettier songs and the Disney love songs and the Disney I Want songs. Okay, so check that out over there, and I'll see you over there. And until then, keep making music.